Hey, I'm Tim Steamson, and this video is about the Kontakt script generator. So I've been creating a few instruments using Kontakt recently, and it was taking me a while to get all the scripting done for the GUIs or GUIs, as you might call them. So I put together a massive nerdy spreadsheet to help me do it a lot quicker and to get all the code that I needed done. And I've made it available for you to copy for free, and the link for that is in the description below. So we're going to go through that sheet and see how it works. So I'm going to show you how the sheet works by using an instrument I made recently by recording myself slapping my own face. And here it is. It's called Tim's Face, and it's free to download on pianobook.co.uk. I've got a blank copy of it here. So we're going to be calling it a different name so future Tim doesn't get confused when he tries to load it, because we're going to do this one a little bit differently just to show you how the script generator works. So this is the first page of the script generator. It's just an info sheet basically, so you can have a read through that if you want. I put some links there, some credits, that sort of stuff. The second page, this is our first stop for creating a GUI. So if you're ever lost, I've put some info in the little boxes at the top. You can have a look through here for the different steps that we're going to go through in this video. So step number one, we're going to create a resource container for your instrument. So to do that, we're going to go up to here on your instrument. We're going to go to instrument options, and we're going to hit create down here next to resource container. And we're just going to put it in the main folder here. Hit save, click yes, and now we've got it. So this is basically where we're going to put all of our picture files, all the different text files that link to it. All right, step two is we need to make a wallpaper and a logo. So what I've done here is I've given you a few different templates for some wallpapers and for some for a logo as well. So I don't know if you've heard of Canva, but it's kind of like Photoshop. I use Photoshop for when I make wallpapers, but Canva is like a free version that's online. So what I've done is I've made you a couple of templates. We've got this one, which has 6 different FX slots. And we've got this one, which has a bit more. So they've got slightly different layouts. So we're going to use this one here. And I'm going to just make that a bit bigger so we can see it. All right, so what I've put at the top here, this is the instrument header section. So this bit is going to be covered up by this part of the instrument. So if you're going to design any lovely graphic illustration things, anything you want, then don't put them above there. So here's the template. I've put a title there, obviously change these different things. I've put a few different little titles for different FX sliders or knobs here. I put a bit at the bottom to help whoever's using it figure out what the different CC controls are doing. And I've put this box at the top is basically where this instrument header will go. So if you design anything up here, you won't be able to see it because that will cover it up. So it's pretty easy to change different things on here. If you just click on, say, the box at the back, we can choose a few different colors. Let's do pink. Why not? And we're going to change a few of these. So we've got some different effects that we can add in. First of all, let's give it a name. Gonna just make that fill out the space a bit. Let's change some of these. We'll keep that as volume. Let's do some distortion. We're gonna just resize some of these. All right, so these aren't necessarily things I put on an instrument like this, but we're going to do it just so you can see how the script generator works. So let's see if we can, let's add a few things. Canva has loads of things on here. Let's do this one. And let's do this one. All right, so now we've done that, we want to download this. So I've set this to the pixel size that Kontakt uses for its wallpapers, so it should be fairly seamless. So we're going to save this in our instrument folder, and then resources, and then pictures. And let's call it something that's sensible. It's not wallpaper slapping sounds, but we know that. So next we want a logo. I've put a logo template here. Again, it's the right amount of pixels that we need. Let's change this. Okay. So same thing with this. We're going to save it in the same place, but let's call this Labs logo. Okay, done. So this is future Tim here. Hi. Looking back at this video, I noticed that the logo is just cutting off the bit of it. So I've changed the pixel size. So basically Canva only goes as small as 40 by 40 pixels, which is why that's happening. So what I've done is I've put some cropping area here and here. So when you use the template, if you change this bit up here, you can still change everything in it, you know, change the color of it, change the text, and it'll still work. But this bit here, you won't see that when you import it into your instrument. All right, back to Past Tim. So for Kontakt to find these two images, we need to create a text file to put in this folder. It's just the way it does things. So we're going to use this next bit down here. So the logo file name we used was this slaps wallpaper. Oh, that was the wallpaper one. The logo one was this slaps logo. And these were the wallpaper width and height sizes. If you've done a different size wallpaper, that's totally fine. Just put the pixels in there and then it will figure out the rest, like the layout script later on, or follow whatever you put in there. So this is what we're going to put in the text file. So we're going to copy that. We're going to paste it in there. We're going to save this in the pictures file as the name we've got down here. And then we're going to do the same thing for the logo as well. Okay, so we've now got our logo, we've got our wallpaper, we've got the two text files to point to them, we're all set. So the next step is to copy the code template and to paste it into Kontakt. So first things first, let's make sure Kontakt sees the images we just made. So we're going to create another resource container. And it's found both those picture files, which is exactly what we want. So next what we need to do is we're going to copy and paste this code template into the script editor. So this is basically what we're going to paste all the rest of the code into once we've made the rest of the code for the controls and all the knobs and sliders that we're going to make. So basically this looks like this when it's in the script editor, and you'll see that it tells you whereabouts different types of code goes. I've just given them sort of names that sort of describe what they do, and hopefully it's fairly obvious whereabouts you're going to paste things into. So before we move on, let's see if Kontakt found the wallpaper and the logo. Click apply, click up here. Here it is. Fantastic. All right, next step is to create a knob or a slider. So in this tab, I've given you a couple more resources that you can use. This one's called Knob Gallery, which, as well as saving you from having that in your internet search history, it's basically a load of public domain knobs, which you can have a look through and choose from to make it a bit easier to create them. So I'm going to go for this one. I'm going to try and change the color of it so it matches our theme a bit better. So we're going to click download knob file. I'm just going to save it in the main instrument folder for now because we're going to export it as a PNG. Okay, so now we've got our knob file. We're going to open Webknobman. Now, if you've ever used Knobman, this is basically the same. It's just a web-based version. And we're going to open the file we just downloaded. And there it is. So I want to change this middle bit so that it's kind of the same sort of yellow as this face down here. So I'm going to try and guess which part that is on the knob by just hiding and showing this bit. Okay, there it is. So it's that bit. So what I'm going to do is just change this color. Let's try maybe around there. I'll make it a bit darker. Okay, there we go. So we're going to export this as a PNG. Now, while this is exporting, have a close look at this number because that's going to be quite handy when we type in the next bit of the options for this. Okay, so we're going to save this in our pictures file. We're going to call it this slaps knob, which is a slightly unfortunate name, but it does the job. So now we've done that, our next step is to change this image file name to the one we just made. And this is a number we're looking at for before, which was 101. If for any reason you missed that when it was exporting, you can find the same number if you go to preference and then have a look at rendering frames, and it's just in there. Okay, so now we've done that, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to create a text box with this copied. Now, it's really important, include this cell. It doesn't look like it's got much in, but for some reason it only works if you've got this cell copied into that text file. So we're going to paste that in there. We're going to call it this. And there we go. Okay, so let's create another resource container so that Kontakt can find that image. And we've got 3 files packed, which is the wallpaper, the logo, and now the knob we've just made. Perfect. So we're going to try and create a knob to target the volume here. That's the first thing we've got on our GUI over here. So what we're going to do is we're going to get this code down here to target the volume of the instrument. And we're going to select all the different options up here. So a lot of it's already set to volume, but we're going to go through and have a look anyway. So first of all, name your knob. Volume seems like a good name, so we're going to keep that. The image file name, I've set this to be the same as the one we've just created here. But if you're using 2 different types of knob or slider, then you can always change it so that you use, one out of those 2 different ones. This bit here is the layout location. So this is basically whereabouts on your GUI you want to put the knob or the slider. So the layout guide's over here. And if you imagine these numbers over the top of here, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, etc., then what we're going to do is try and find whereabouts we're going to put it roughly, and then it's going to change the layout code down here. So we probably want this, it's right in the middle, almost at the top, so probably going to be around 3. And when I click this, have a look at the layout section down here. So these numbers change and they're roughly around here. It won't be exact every time. You're going to have to do a bit of trial and error, but that should be somewhere around the right place. Okay, so this bit here is about how you want the knob or slider to function. Mouse drag direction is, do you want to drag it up and that's going to change the value, or do you want to drag it across and that's going to change the value? We want to do up, so I'm going to leave it as vertical. So this bit here is to invert the direction of the slider. If you want to turn the slider up and the effect to increase, then you can do that. But if you want to turn the slider up and the effect decreases, you can do that as well. Something that could be helpful for in this instrument, we've got a lo-fi effect here. So you might want to turn up the knob on the GUI and this turns down this knob here. So that could be something you'd use that for. We're not going to do that in this one, but we're going to use our default mode for this. So next is whereabouts the effect is located. So this, for volume, I've put down here just a few hints, mostly for volume, for tuning, for panning. So if you want to do the volume of the instrument, what we can do is we can either target the whole instrument volume, which is this, or we can target a bus volume, which is if we put all the groups through, say, here. So it's better to do it via a bus, because if you target the volume at the top and you turn it all the way up, it's going to peak because it's going to be at 12 dB rather than around where we started down here. So what we're going to do is we're going to make sure each of these different groups is going through a bus. So we're going to put all of these groups through bus 1. If you don't know how to do that, it's down here. You can always put, group A through bus 1, group B through bus 2, but because we're doing round robins with this, we're going to put them all through bus 1. So that's the thing to check if you're putting them through a bus. So we want only bus 1, so we're going to deselect these two. Now, if you've got multiple buses, if you want to say change the volume of 1, 2, and 3, you select those. That changes the code down here. If you just want to say do bus 3, you do that. It would change the code down here. So we've got our bus selected. It's not in an FX slot. We're going to get to that bit later. This is for basically if you want to affect all groups and buses, you can do this. Or if you want to do specific groups, you can do this, and this changes to groups. But for us, we're just going to keep it as specific buses for now. So our last section here is which effect we want to target. So we want to target volume. If you want to change this, you can. I've put them all down here. And basically, whenever you choose a different effect from here, underneath will give you all the parameters that you can target for that. It saves you going through the KSP manual and trying to figure them all out. So we want to target volume. We've only got one option, so we're going to select this. And there we go. So next, we're going to copy this code. And we're going to paste it into our template. So this is to go in the slider section. So we're going to find the slider section here, paste that bit of code into there. We're going to find the layout section, paste that code into there. And then we're going to get this bit of code. Now, really important, include this as well. I've got this in case you want to include like 15 buses in the same bit of code, but this basically just makes sure everything works. And we're going to put this into the control section down here. You can get rid of all this extra space once you've done that if you want as well. Okay, great. So moment of truth, we're going to hit apply. And we have a knob. Look at that. Brilliant. Is it in the right place? It's just about there. I might move it up a bit so it doesn't get confused between volume and attack. So let's check if this works. Perfect. All right. So let's see if we can get this layout sorted out. So the way the layout numbers work is the first number here is how far across the knob or slider goes. And the number here is how far down the knob or slider goes. So we want to change this number because we want it to go a bit further up. So we're going to change this. I reckon 35 might do it. Hit apply. And that's a little bit better. It just shows that it's towards volume rather than towards attack. Okay, so let's target a different effect. Let's do distortion this time. So what you can do with this sheet is if you want to keep this as volume, just in case you want to come back and change anything at any point, you can click here, click duplicate, and rename the first one something to help you remember it. So we're going to call that volume, and let's change this sheet here. So we want to try and target distortion. So let's have a look in the instrument down here. There it is. Okay, so first of all, let's give it a name. We're going to use the same image file name. The layout is going to be a bit further along. I reckon it might be probably around the kind of 4 area on the layout guide. So we're going to select 4. Okay, we want the mouse drag direction to be vertical. That's good. We want it to turn up and the effect increases. Also good. So this is at a insert effect level. So we're going to change this so that it's an insert effect. Now, if you get any errors down here, don't worry too much until you've got to the end. what will probably happen is that they'll sort themselves out as you reselect these different things down here. So the effect slot is 1, 2, 3, 4. It's not a specific bus. We want to target all groups and buses, and then we're going to make sure that's unchecked. And then the effect we want to do is distortion, and we want to target the drive. Okay, let's copy it in. So this goes to the slider section. This goes in the layout section. Now I already know that 35 is about the right level, so I'm going to change that there. And hopefully that's going to make it a bit easier. And we're going to paste that into the control section and get rid of the empty space. Okay, let's see if it worked. So we're a bit off center, but it's doing what we want it to. So I reckon that needs to go along maybe about 15 or 20 pixels. So we're going to go back down to layout, and we're going to change this one maybe to 415. Spot on. All right, brilliant. So next, let's have a look at reverb. So this is a send effect. So what we want to do is to target the send amount. So how much signal we're going to send there. So I'm going to duplicate this tab. Rename this one. And this is going to be our reverb tab. So knob name. We're going to use the same image. Layout is going to be further over there. So it's probably around 5, that sort of area. Now, if you have like a square template or something like that, then this is all relative to the pixels we put in earlier in the GUI template. So it's based off dividing these numbers up. So don't worry if you've got a slightly different shape template to this, it will still be roughly in the same sort of area if you imagine this sort of stretched out to whatever your wallpaper size is. Okay, we're going to keep these two the same. And this time we're targeting a send. The FX slot is 3. And we want to target all groups and buses. We're going to select send levels, and it's going to give us the right thing to put in. Okay, great. Let's copy in that code. Slider section. Layout section. Again, I'm going to change that to 35. And control section. Okay. Now already I can see that's too far over, so I'm going to just try and move it over a little bit. Let's have a look at that. Pretty close. I reckon 5 more. All right, let's see how it does. Beautiful. Okay, so next we're going to have a look at how to do attack and release. So here is the AHDSR or AHDSR tab, and it works very much similar to the tab we just left as well. So we're just going to go down it. Hopefully it's going to be fairly obvious what we do. So before we start this, what you've got to make sure you have is on all your groups, you've got to make sure that you have an envelope in the mod section down here, because otherwise it's not going to be able to target anything. So if you haven't got that, just click, make sure all groups is selected, click add modulator here, and then and it'll add in exactly what you want. Okay, so we want an attack knob. We're going to do this slaps knob as the image layout. This is probably about either 8 or 13. I'm going to go for 8. I think it might be the closest one. Now for this, let's do a different thing. I wouldn't usually do this, but let's do horizontal mouse drag direction. So we're dragging it this way. And we're going to say when we turn it up, the effect increases. Now we want to target attack. We've only got 2 things here, attack or attack curve. We want to do this, and that's basically it. So here's a code to copy in. So for this bit of code, this bit at the top, for the bit, this bit you only need to do once, but this bit we're going to need to do for, attack or release or whatever we want to do. So let's copy that in. This goes in init section, init. This bit goes in the slider section. This bit goes in the layout section. And this bit goes in the control section. Okay, let's hit apply. Let's have a look. All right, it's a bit high up. Now let's see what it sounds like. It'll be really difficult to hear, but... Oh yeah, I'm dragging up. It's actually been horizontal now. Okay, there we go. I'm going to move that. Remember the second one is how far down it is. Okay, it's pretty good. Maybe a little bit further. Lovely. Okay, so let's do release. We're going to duplicate this. And we're going to change that to attack, just so remember, this one's going to be release. Going to keep the same one. Now this one was around here. So 9. Let's keep it horizontal. We're going to do the same thing here. Let's change it just so you can see how it works actually. And then we're going to change this to release. And then change that one to the one that works. Now this bit we've already copied in. Remember, only copies that section in once. This bit down here, this is a bit we need to copy in. So slider, layout. Now I know that this is how far down it needs to be. And this was the one that we changed from there. So I think that might work. That's a good thing about having these in a grid sort of setting. And control. Okay, let's see if that worked. Lovely. Okay, so I think if I drag this. Okay, it's kind of difficult to hear because it's not a long sample. But let's see if it's working. So here's our modulation thing down here. I'm going to change this. And it's changed the release time. Great. Okay, next let's have a look at this tab. This is a random round robin selection tab, and it was based on a video by Dave Hilowitz. Thanks, Dave, for this code. It's basically, the function it has is instead of your round robins going A, B, C, D, A, B, C, D, it's going to select a random one each time. So for this script to work, you've got to make sure this group start option is set to always instead of any of these round robins here. And you've got to make sure that however many groups you want to round robin here are in here. So we've got 4 groups. So we're going to put 4. If we had 7 groups, you put 7. If you had 38 groups, you put 38. You get it. So now we've done that, we just copy and paste it in. So this goes in the init section. This goes in the on note section. Okay, so let's see if that's worked. And you can see it's just randomly selecting each group and not repeating a group. Perfect. Okay, final thing, we're gonna add a random pan knob. So this is another function that I've put in the sheet, and it's basically a randomizer. So the things that you can change are pan, tuning, and velocity, just to kind of, mix things up a little bit. So we're going to call this random pan. We're going to use the same file name. We're going to put this there. So it's going to be around 10, but we're going to change it in a little bit. We're going to keep these as dragging it up, because dragging it from side to side got confusing. I can change those later. And we're going to randomize the pan. Perfect. All right, so let's copy and paste this in. So this goes in the init section. This goes in the slider section. I've lost it. There it is. This goes in the layout section. Now let's see if we can change these. So 140 was that far down, and the furthest one across was this one, wasn't it? And finally, here's the on note section. Oh, I missed it again. There it is. Okay. So what this knob does, when it's turned down, the pan is in the center, and as you turn it up, then it'll randomly pan notes further left and right. Let's see if it's working. You might need headphones for this, or speakers. Perfect. All right. I've just noticed down here, I should have changed that in Canva. So I'll have to go back, change that, and then make sure CC1 controls volume. Let's set that up. So basically, all it is, right click on here, learn MIDI CC, wiggle whatever MIDI CC1's doing, and now we've got that CC controlling that. All right. So that is a fully functioning GUI in not too much time at all. Like I said, feel free to copy your own sheet and use that to make your instruments. Let me know what you use it for. I'd love to see what you build. If you find any bugs or anything that doesn't quite work in the sheet, then let me know. I'm still working on it. It's still a work in progress. I might add some things like legato and vibrato patches later. All right, thanks for watching. Have fun. And here's a short message from my assistant, Jojo. Oh, that's a good sign. Did you make that yourself? Didn't even know you could write. I mean, you could have put please, been a bit polite. And how are they going to know if to ding the bell or not? Well, I mean, you look quite tired, so fair enough. Well done. Good girl.